Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. Today we're going to be talking about aquatic vehicles known as boats. I think we got quite a few memories on boats. From what I remember, you have a pretty good story, don't you?
Oh, I have a lot. I have a lot of stories on boats. Really crazy stories.
What was the
They're
one in the Occoquan? What was that one?
oh, that is probably the scariest. And that's the first time or second time I think that I avoided death. So that's a good one to start with. Anyway, uh we're this is October. No, December, January, January 84 or no, January 82, whenever Air Florida crashed into the 14th Street Bridge, everybody kind of remembers that. Uh, the previous weekend, the Saturday night, we were supposed to meet a buddy uh, in his boat, which is called the Nomad, and him and two other people to go out at 8 o'clock. We stopped at the firehouse and had a few beers, and then we had a few more. And then, well, we had a few more, and then we got there late, and the boat was leaving at like we're supposed to be there at 8. We're there like 8:15. We're like, we go there, and we could see the boat like 50, 75 yards away, going down out into the Atlantic, out into the Occoquan, out into the river. And well, what happened was within an hour, it was a wooden hull boat. And now this was the coldest day of the year. It was 60 below zero wind chill factor that day and the next day. I mean, it was butt cold, and we were all pissed off. We went into the Aquan Inn and proceeded on a bunch of more pictures, and then I think we drove home because driving then was I think you were supposed to be drunk after 5 o'clock in
I
the evening
heard
when
that.
you
Yeah, I think in about 2005
yeah.
they changed the law that you
Yeah,
no longer.
yeah, and then they
Yeah.
changed the law. But before that, anyway, they took off. They hit a. There was only a narrow canal that you could go through, and he had, of all things, a wooden hulled boat. It was a 1929 cabin cruiser. He hit one of the ice sheets, cut a hole in the hull. The boat sunk in about 6 or 7 feet of water. It just went down like a rock. So and it had a downstairs and an upstairs, and they went downstairs. There were three of them on board. They called on their CB. A trucker said, "Yeah, we'll get help to you," and they never did. And now this was Saturday night. The next morning, Sunday morning, they're freezing. Uh, One of them or both of them had gone downstairs to use the CB because that's where there's like the place where you sleep and all that kind of stuff, the lower area.
Yeah, yeah, the cabin kind of area,
Well,
right?
well, that was flooded, so they got wet, and they got wet from about the knees, just above the knees down, and that's how deep the water was. That's how much had come in. But now it's 60 below zero. I don't care what you're wearing. If you're on the river, it's frosty. The next day, and they were getting a little bit delirious. One of the guys says, "I'm going to swim for it," because they're maybe 100 yards from shore, if that.
Because Occoquan isn't that big, from my
Well, they were
understanding.
right at the mouth of the Occoquan, where it comes out, where it widens into the Potomac River. So
Oh, okay.
that's where they were, and they were maybe 100 yards from shore, either shore, and they swam to one. The guy jumps in the water, and he floats, and he goes about 10 feet, and then he floats off, and he goes under. He's dead. They find his body a couple weeks later. I mean,
Weeks later.
weeks. It was not.
Well,
It,
because
it
you're not
wasn't like
sending
you
out a
could search
dive
for,
team in the middle of the winter, right? I don't think.
especially when it's frozen over. What are you going
Yeah.
to do? When you don't know where the underwater currents are going. Well, that was Sunday, right? The next guy goes out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He has a wetsuit on, and he's Mike, a great, wonderful, wonderful person. I went to many a Preakness with him and got hammered in Army Navy games, and we did all sorts of crazy stuff. He used to
You can hear about
he
that in our past episode, Preakness Stakes, by the
yeah,
way.
he would get hammered and start reading the Bible out loud for some weird reason.
That's
Anyway,
phenomenal. I love that.
yeah.
That's great.
And he also he booted out the rear of a truck, and he destroyed somebody's rear bumper. But that's another story altogether. Anyway,
Mm.
He goes in the water at 3 o'clock. They didn't find him for a couple of weeks. They thought he made it to shore because it looked like he was going, because he kept going through the water and going and going and going. And he's a monster in the water. He was, but he unfortunately didn't make it either. The other guy got rescued the next day, and I'm on my way to work at like 7:30 in the morning, and I'm hearing the police saying that they found somebody that sunk in the Potomac, which is the mouth of the Potomac, Occoquan. And the name of the boat's the Nomad. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, nah, couldn't be. Well, it turns out it was. And he ended up having his legs amputated just above, I think, just above the knee, from where the water had been on there for, you know, 60 hours, 70 hours. And I mean, the guy that they called on the CB never responded, never helped them. They never found out who it was. I mean, it was a horrible, horrible, horrible situation. And we missed it by 15 minutes, you know.
Wow.
And that was I mean, like if you listen to our one where we did the Windows Over the World, I was supposed to be at that convention that happened there.
Very similar.
Where there was
Very, very similar.
Yeah, it was a Waters bond conference, and I was going to go to that, and I waited, and you were the reason that I stayed home, because your mother said, well, she said, oh yeah, he's only going to have one preschool first day. Well, anyway, I'm getting off the
One first day of preschool. Yeah. No, I remember hearing that
That's
story.
why I stayed. But anyway, this was the first or second time that I avoided, the end of me, because I would have been dead, and so would have my buddy. One of us would have, two of us, who knows? We would have lost limbs or whatever.
You still talk to the friend that you missed it with? I still talk to him?
No, I haven't in a long time. There's been some, there was a bunch of stuff. He was bad to my brother, so it wasn't really my brother's friend.
Okay, gotcha. I think I actually know.
It got all messy,
yeah.
and and you move
exactly.
on with life. You move on with life. That's what that was.
No,
anyway,
exactly.
That was just a crazy, crazy, crazy boat story. I have other boat stories. What was the other one? I'm trying to think.
The one with Edwin, right? Where you were
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one was
my brother was
good,
getting he was getting his master's degree from UVA, and he was getting on wastewater, and he was doing his dissertation, or whatever the hell they do, the big paper. And every quarter he would go out into Neabsco Creek, which is down in Woodbridge, and he would take water samples. Well, he took water samples in '84 in, I think, January, and we had one of those. We bought it at Woolco, which is like a Walmart, a $12 raft, the little plastic ones, and we would go out on this. It was literally plastic or vinyl, whatever. That it was the blow up ones. That was the 2-man one that you squeeze in there. We go out there, and we go out with the plastic oars. It was so comical, and go out there and get the samples and bring them back. Well, we do this in the middle of winter. Well, one thing that happens when the water is really, 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 really cold, plastic cracks. So we get maybe we go down the creek. So there's an island area. There's an area that we parked at. Then you go across, and there's an island area. Then the Neabsco Creek would split out and around and go. I don't know how to describe it. It would go around. It was like a channel into the Occoquan. A lot of damage at the Occoquan. Anyway,
a lot of it seems to be a future avoidable place. I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to go there anymore.
In there, it starts cracking, and we start flooding. So we go over to like the side, and we jump off into the frozen marshland, and we walk crossland on the marshland in the boat, which is rapidly losing air. We blow it all the way up. I throw it in the water. We get back over, and we're getting ready to go across, and we're getting colder and colder and colder, because it's in the teens. And like real smart people from Woodbridge, we didn't dress well for the weather. I don't even think I had gloves. I don't remember. Maybe I did have gloves. Yeah, I think I had gloves. But anyway, I jump in, I go across, and the thing's cracking, and I get a little bit wet. And I get on the other side, and I climb up on the dock, and then I throw the rope back to him, and he pulls the boat. Then he throws the rope to me, and then it's about half empty of air. He tries to blow it up, and Edwin weighed a lot more than I did then. As soon as he jumped in, it starts sinking. I pull him across. He's wet from the waist down. Then and remember this, where we parked is probably half, 3/4 of a mile off the road down a dirt road. Okay, we go over to our coal. It's an Oldsmobile, 63, big giant car, and it's locked. And we have keys. And he gets the keys out of his pocket, and he can't use his hands. He can't use his fingers. They were so frozen, so he's holding them like this, and he keeps dropping them on the ground. And I went down, and I picked them up, and I tried to do it because I was like, you start getting really angry when you're freezing and the car's like there.
You can't help yourself either, yeah.
And you can't get it. And so I get it, and I get it in, and I can't, and I actually got it in the lock of the door, but I'm literally using my hands like this. They're knuckles to knuckles. Your fingers did not work. Got it in. I couldn't turn it. He turned it. We got in. And the key to start the car was on the dash. Luckily, if it had been in the column, it would have been a nightmare. But put it on the dash, turn it on the dash, turn the car on. Luckily, it started, which was just amazing that this car started on the first try. Started, cut on the heat, and I thought about it later, and I was thinking, like, if we had not been able to start that car, we would have had to walk like 4 or 5 miles. It would have been at least 2 to 3 where there was no houses.
Are you thinking if the battery died or something like that?
Yeah. Well, no. If we just couldn't get in the car because we couldn't put the keys in. Our fingers, our bodies, he was wet. I was wet. It would have been an ugly, ugly mess. But we got the car started. We got the heat on and all that kind of stuff. And we got out of there. But the hindsight of that is like, wow, that would have been absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a fun time. I don't think I would enjoy that.
But we still, Edwin and I still laugh about it, we laugh about it because we can. You couldn't at the time. we were I was like cussing at him. Why'd you make me come? Right? That kind of thing. Why'd you bring the car? Why'd you do this? Why are we doing this? And,
why am I your brother? Why are we related?
yeah. Why are we here? I was questioning life in general. Anyway, it turned out okay. He ended up getting his master's degree, and that was considered one of the best papers his professor said he'd seen written in a long time, and blah, 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 blah. Because what he was looking for is he was taking samples in various different places to see the changes of what the season does to the water. Sedimentation runs differently at different times of the year. The temperature of the water, the depth of the water. All those things were things that you measure to see, like, what's the water flow here?
The algae bloom and whatnot.
Exactly.
What is it? Eutrophication. There we go. Yeah.
Well, also you want to see if people are dumping crap in it too.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. If they dump more in the summer versus the winter, or if it's just normal dumpage year round. Yeah, I'm gonna guess they dump more in the summer. I'm just gonna guess that.
Well, I don't know.
I think pollution would be higher in the summer.
I would think so too.
Based on how many people just on fish in the Potomac. That's what I would base it on, right?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking that, when you're home, you're crapping more, so you're home more in the winter.
Fair enough. That's also a good point. That's actually pretty accurate as well. Pretty accurate as well. I'm trying to think of boat stories.
It's as accurate as a Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. But what is
yeah, we can just say anything we want. It doesn't matter. It's just it's an opinion.
Everything's an opinion, isn't it? Yeah. Everything's an opinion. But
anyway,
what is didn't you almost get struck by lightning one time? Wasn't that?
Oh yeah. Well, that was another time. My one of my partners and my first business venture, he was struck twice on the Potomac. He's a sailboat.
The boat was, or he
the boat was he was in like a little tiny 1-person sailboat, and the sailboat was struck 2 different times. And I'm like, dude, are you like, and I remember I was on the sailboat with him at one time, and he's telling me this, and it's a little overcast. And I'm going like, I want to go. No.
You're bad luck. You're bad luck, man.
Yeah, it's like me driving down the road. When I'm driving around the road here, all of a sudden I am just such a shit magnet for other cars.
Oh,
we talked about that in
Are
the
you
last
ever?
one.
Are you
But
ever?
this one was not lightning. This is a different story. The wife and I decided to rent a boat, a pontoon boat, and go out on the water. And it was down in Sarasota. Her brother and sister-in-law had bought a condo down there and given it to us for a week. And it was a beautiful time of year. It was really generous. We went, we got on the boat, we go there, and it was weird because all their boats were in and nobody was on the water, and I thought it was really odd because it was like a Friday or a Saturday. It was the middle of the week, and so I figured, oh, it must be just that people don't rent boats during the week, which is kind of weird because it's Florida, so people would always be out on boats, but there was nobody on the water. So we get in the boat, we go out, we're maybe 200-300 yards from shore on one end, and it's a bay area, a huge bay area, and we were going to go to the opposite side, which is about 1.5 miles, 2 miles, and there's a sandy beach there, and we got to do some lunch thing or something like that. Well, I'm going along and I'm flying and I'm having a great time, and there's a roof on this thing too, right? Boom, overcast. It's like somebody just cut off the lights a little bit. It gets dark real quick. Then all of a sudden I see whitecaps, like inside of 5 minutes. Once we crossed, we're just about at the middle of the thing, and then I start to see whitecaps. First little ones, then really big ones, and then I'm telling her we got to turn around. And as I'm turning around the boat, I grab her. She sits on my lap. I actually take there's a seat belt in those things, luckily. And I
In a
had it right
boat?
here in a boat. There's a seat belt on the driver's seat.
I don't think
We
I've ever
took
seen
it
that.
around here, and I tied. It may have been a rope. It may have been a rope that I just tied around the two of us. And I said, will it be, if this boat flips, you got to untie that as quick as possible, or we're going to die. We'll probably die anyway, but we were going to beach it at the shore. And as I'm turning, the top rips off from the wind. That's how hard the wind came. I'm like, it was like, and it was a holy shit moment, because the boat, it's a pontoon boat, and people, they're impossible to flip over. This boat was doing this. It was probably doing
Ooh.
60 degrees. So if we had not been tied in, we would have fallen out. That's how far it was tipping over.
I was wondering why you were tying yourself in, because I would be
It
scared
was
to drown,
it
but
well,
now I
it was like
understand.
it
Yeah.
was the waves were 4 to 6 feet in 3 minutes. It was like somebody just said, we're gonna mess with those people, and they came at us like really hard, and then they ripped the top off, which was just like, she starts freaking out, but I had her tied in, and I'm sitting on the camera. I didn't want to lose it, and I'm driving, and she's in front of me, and I'm turning the boat, and I said, I'm just going to go to the shore and beach it. I don't care. We got to get as close. And I said, our goal here, and we had to go sideways because the waves are breaking in the front. And every time I turned a little bit sideways to go towards the beach, the boat would almost tip over. So I had to go weirdly. I'm driving in this direction. I'm driving to the left, but I'm going straight. And it was sort of like, and it was moving us sideways towards, and that's how I could gauge what it was. But we were getting splashes where when we went over the wave in the front, you're looking at the sky. And then when you go down into the trough of the wave, you could not see anything but water. That's how big the waves were. And this came up like crazy. Just, and then we go in, the guy apologizes, doesn't charge us, and doesn't even ask about the roof missing. Doesn't say a word. We go and we called a taxi, because we took a taxi there, because I forget the reason we were using a taxi, because it's like, it's going to be this, there's no parking, blah, 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 or something like that. Anyway, we get in a taxi, and the guy goes, you guys were on the water? There was a hurricane or tornado or something watch. Said nobody was on the water. There was an alert that went out to everybody, and they actually rented you the boat. And he was like, I would be upset. And we were like, we're alive.
That's
and
fair.
to this day, she was like, I will never get on a boat with you again. Never, ever will I get on a boat with you driving. I will never get on a boat with you. And I said, it wasn't my driving that made the weather.
A different person would sue too. Any other person
Yeah.
would have sued the boat company.
I've been in lawsuits, one in particular, and it's 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 really an emotional drain on your life because you don't really know what the outcome's going to be until the outcome happens. This was over probably a 12-month period, and it was just emotional drain.
It's a long
You know,
drawn out kind of
even
thing
if
as well.
even if you know that you're right, even if you're the right one, there still is somebody that can arbitrarily say, "Nah, Zach, you don't have glasses. Those aren't glasses. Those are face coverings with little pieces of glass in them. You lose." and that's what happens, and it happens all the time in a court of law. You see people that should go to jail and don't. You see people that go to jail and shouldn't.
Seems
So
pretty common now, doesn't it?
yeah, a lot. It's random. And it really depends upon who the prosecutor is and what they want to do and how they want to go after you and all that kind of stuff like that. But mine was a civil suit, and we were sued, and then we countersued. They hired the second biggest law firm in, what the hell was it, Vermont or something, and we hired the biggest one and sued and countersued, and they sued us. And when I tell people the story, they're like, "What?" When they sued us, and they ended up paying us 40 grand in our lawyers' fees. And you're like, no, that's not the way it works. I say, yeah, that's the way it works. Because they tried to steal something, and they tried to have us do specific performance on what they were stealing. And we're like, you can't steal something and not pay for it. Well, what do you mean? We're suing you. And then they did. And because like in any lawsuit, you figure out that you don't respond until they actually file something with the court. And they did file something with the court. We got it. I was laughing and at first, but then over like 6 months later, it was a pain in the ass. It was a draw. Cost us like, I think it cost us like 35,000.
Oh my gosh.
So we got paid that, plus we got 40 grand in FU fees and that kind of stuff. So that was good. But anyway, that had nothing to do with boats. Back to the Tampa, Sarasota. We got in the car, drove. We got the taxi driver told us the story. We went back and just let it go, And then I think another boat story. You were with us, I believe. You were younger. We were at Rehoboth Beach. I don't think we had a house. We may have had a house then. I don't know. We were up there with the relatives, and we were towing around the kids on all the water. And I remember it's a pontoon boat once again, and we were towing you guys in the back, and then the boat stalls, and we get it started a little bit, and we get it over to a dock, and it stalls, and it wouldn't. No, that's right. We pulled over to a dock to eat lunch, and we were like 2 hours from the place. We came back, we tried to start it, wouldn't start. So they finally came, and after we rented the boat for 2 hours, we were out there for 4 hours. They only charged us for the two, but it was a whole day just wasted and basically just sitting on a dock that smelled like fish and nasty.
Well, good thing I don't remember it. That's pretty cool.
It absolutely, you guys were running up and down the dock and causing, you were young enough that you were
jumping in the water.
Really pains in the ass then, so that was good. I mean, you guys had a good time. We were miserable. Went home, and she I remember looking at me like, you in pontoon boats, what's going on?
Yeah, you do not have good luck with the boats.
Yeah. I'm not. Well, funny you should mention that, because there's another boat story that I think about that really, she used to go on boats and was like all fine with them until you came along. It was your fault.
Yeah, I think it was.
We went to Key West, went down there for vacation, and she found out she was pregnant, which was the story in that is just shocking the way it happened. Maybe we should talk about pregnancy at some point, because that's a really funny story when the way we didn't believe it,
That would be a good episode. We can do that next.
Yeah.
Good next episode.
Yeah. We can talk about the pregnancy at another time, because it's a really, really
we'll
cool
save
thing.
that for a future one.
Anyway, we go there, and I see gambling boat, right? In Florida. And I'm thinking like, well, we can go on a gambling tour, because she couldn't do very much because she can't drink, she can't do this. And, watching me get shit hammered is, well, it's fun for me. it wasn't any fun for her. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I would have
You
no clue
know,
why.
yeah, no clue
That's not
why.
fun.
That's
Who
that's no fun.
I wonder why.
Yeah, well, and she was unfortunately good, and to not be get hammered and all that kind of stuff like that. So we hop in the taxi, we go to the boat. It's a big, giant gambling boat, right? And what it does in Florida is they didn't have legalized gambling then, so it would go out past the 20-mile marker or whatever it is in international waters, and then they'd cut on all the slot machines and everything. Well, we get on it, and we're both 39 at the time. Well, at that time, there was not a single person there that was younger than 70. At least it was poor people on walkers coming in.
Birds of a feather.
And every single person smoked. Everyone. Every single person smoked. It was like I was shocked that there were that many people that smoked in such a small group. We get up onto this little gambling boat, Sunshine or Sunset or whatever it was, something like that. Sunset gambling. And they made it sound like it's going to be romantic and cool, and I thought it was, and I didn't realize that it was a bunch of blue hairs, which I'm a blue hair now, and they're just going out there, and they had only a little bit. They had food, but it was like it kind of reminded me more of dog food because it was all mushy because that's what old people eat, and I didn't realize that, but that was included in your $64 price or whatever it was. We go in. Everybody gets into the gambling room waiting for it to come on. And all it is like 500 slot machines or 350 or whatever. And all they are the button pushing slot machines, nothing more. And ding, 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 ding. That's all they were. And everybody was
no
in
table
there.
games, no
Yes, none of that. None of that. Every single one had an ashtray. And every single one had somebody using the ashtray except mine. And your mother was in there for about 2 minutes, and then she starts to turn like weird. She goes out on the back deck, and there's a guy back there. The music is a like a what do they call it? Sunset dancing, fine wine, and all this other kind of crap. The fine wine was in a Dixie cup, so whatever. All that stuff. It was comical to see it and to watch it and to go through it. And she is it's I think it's the first time I've ever seen her boot too, because she's standing there and we're listening to this guy play and he had a guitar and he had a synthesizer or something else that was playing in the that's in the background while he playing a song and singing Jim Croce or something like that, or Bad Bad Leroy Brown or something to that effect, because it was a guitar tune with a background boo, 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 which was really comical. And she turns, stands up, goes to the rail and just boots like 3 or 4 times. And this is probably 40 minutes into a 4-hour tour.
Oh no.
So the guy
no.
singing looks at her and he boots. So I'm in the back with these guys and watching like this, looking left, looking right, going like, whoa, this is a boot fest. So I go in and get some of that Dixie cup wine and, and came back and I kept drinking and whatever. I mean, I had an okay time, but it was really weird that it was hard to converse with people that were born, 50 years before me. All of them. They were all born in the 20s probably at that point, and
That's kind of my
born.
thing though. I love talking to people like that.
Yeah, but it was
but the gamblers are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's
right.
gambling.
They're all I remember so many people had Benson and Hedges. It just grossed me out,
What is that?
Benson and Hedges cigarettes.
Oh, okay.
Everybody had Benson. It was there must have been a sale of them down there because everybody was smoking the same thing, and it is a nasty smell. And I would tell you that when you smoke, if you go outside and smoke and it's cold and you come back in, the smell is just nasty.
Oh,
that's why a lot of people vape now to get
about.
away from that, because it makes you smell like, and I don't care when women put perfume on and all that kind of stuff like that, you still smell it. And it's just, it's disgusting. I'm a cigar smoker. Yeah. I smell like absolute shit.
So bad.
I reek it, but I don't care. I'm Ricky Gervais.
You have a keen sense of smell, though. I think when you become a parent, you
Yeah.
you develop a keen sense of smell for marijuana and for
Yeah,
other
I knew.
things. You become
Yeah, yeah. Well, that came from my high school days and my middle school days from smoking weed.
yeah.
I know what that is. That's some really good shit. That's not that Mexican crap I used to smoke.
Oh my
Or even,
gosh.
wow, we got up to Colombian, and that was supposed to be the great weed. And that's like 4 THC, 4.
You also talked about the Kona,
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
it
yeah.
was,
I
that made
remember
you drive
that.
around the highway a couple times.
Yeah, that was a lost cause. That wasn't a boat, but it was kind of funny. I had a crush on this girl. I asked her out. I had 2 6 packs of beer. Of course, you need to drink and drive on the way to Cap Center. I
I
had
mean, it was a
tickets.
law. We did kind of state
I
that.
had tickets, and it was Golden Earring and Come Sail Away. Who is that?
Oh, a six?
Six. They had a concert at the Cap Center, and I go, and we smoked some of this weed that she brought back from Hawaii, and I missed the turn, and I drive all the way around the Beltway, and then we come to it
That's
again.
really far.
I
That's
know,
that's
and
really
not to,
far.
and we didn't realize it. We didn't realize it. I'm on like my 6th beer by the time we get there. I got to pee, you know. Then we park. Then we go in and we watch the concert. The concert was we saw the last song of Golden Earring, which was,
No.
oh yeah, but it was their
So Golden Earring was opening 4 sticks. Is that what you're
right,
saying?
Radar
Oh,
Love.
okay.
It
Okay.
was just phenomenal. I came in and I heard the bounce, and it was just like and the guys were like, I was supposed to go there with Rick and another guy, the guy that ended up going to jail. The other guy, I don't think he went to jail. Anyway, those are 2 different jail stories. Uh, this one, we go in there, we watch the concert. It was a great time, and yeah, I'm all happy, and she's happy, and then we get stoned again because you used to be able to. You're not supposed to smoke there, but everybody did. So then we go out into the parking lot, and we can't find the car, and we literally walk around the whole Cap Center over and over and over again, and we couldn't find it. And then we finally do find it after the whole parking lot's empty, and we see it. And we said, "There it is." And we were like, we looked at that. It was like what was it? Number 17. It was they had on the lights, on the big tall lights they have that were in the parking lot to keep lit up. It was the 17th one. I think it was number 17. Anyway, that's the one we knew. That's it. When we saw it, it was there. It was a Maverick. Uh, we drive home. We stop at 7-Eleven because she's thirsty. I get out. I go into 7-Eleven. Can't find what she comes. Come back out. Car won't start. No matter what. Everything I do. It's literally 2 o'clock in the morning. I call my parents, which scared me because I was fearful of them at that point and what they would do. They never answered. So here we are, and nobody would give us a jump. Nobody would give us a jump. I mean, it was really just shitty people. Nah, man, I can't do that, man. I can't. Everybody came in, couldn't do it. So we call her dad. Her dad comes and gets us in a Pinto. I sit in the back seat. She's in the front seat. He drives me to my house. I get out. I don't even kiss her goodnight. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you get really,
And
yeah.
and then I mean that was it. I never saw her again. Obviously.
Yeah, I think that's kind of
But that was my first big second, third, fourth heartbreak. I don't know, whatever it was. That was a different story. It had nothing to do with a boat though. But it was
good story though, nonetheless.
yeah, it was I mean, but we smoked the Kona, and she said that she bought a rock from Hawaii home.
Oh,
And then
magma
she
rock.
read, yeah, but when she came home, then she read a story online, or not online, because there was no online. She read a story on bringing rocks home from Hawaii. There was incredible bad luck. And this is what she's telling me when we couldn't find the car. She said, I knew I should have taken that rock. And she had the rock with her. She said, she goes, when I get home, I'm gonna put it in a package. I'm gonna mail it back to Hawaii. And I'm gonna mail it back. I'm gonna mail it back. And it's like, and every single thing that could possibly go wrong. And it was just weird stuff, you know? So I go home, we come back the next day, I get in the car, it starts right up.
So funny.
And you're like, what? What? What?
I guess it's not a superstition then.
Because I mean, before I was turning it and it's just nothing. Not
A
even
bad
not even an
juju.
alternator. Nothing. And I was just like, what the hell is this?
That's very strange.
And then to come back and it runs fine. Bad, very, very bad. That was
the bad juju. Oh
Bad
gosh.
juju. So she probably mailed that back and everything turned out well. I was thinking, like, do I have any more boat stories? Do you have boat stories?
Well, we're actually coming up on time here.
Oh, so
So
let's go sink a boat.
yeah, I think we should go sink a couple boats. I've
Oh,
always
did we
wanted.
talk about the pilot house story?
Oh, that's a good one. I think
That's a
you
good one.
have talked about that
Yeah, I have
actually in
talked
the
about the
past
with
one.
yeah,
I
the
can't
guy that
remember what
jumped.
episode, but we have reviewed that
We have
story.
reviewed that.
But I
So,
think we're gonna wrap up here. I think this is kind of a
yeah.
perfect place to get indigestion and wrap up here.
And
Thank you guys for listening. As always, we have a Q&A section on the Spotify. We love the comments. Keep them pouring in, and keep on listening. We'll see you next week.
I got a bunch of comments the other week on joy.
Oh
People
yeah.
people wrote on my LinkedIn post because I posted on LinkedIn, I posted on Facebook, and they wrote their specific things that they got joy from. It's
Ah,
kind of
well,
neat.
that's
It's
wonderful.
kind of neat to see it.
That's what we do it
And
for.
then and also no Joe Rogan, we don't want you anymore. You backed off. You were going to do something and then you turned into a coward. So we can't
Yep. You heard
we
it
don't want to
from
be on cowards podcast.
the horse's mouth here. All right,
Yeah.
we'll talk to you next week. All right, bye-bye.
Okay.